Hello. We're going to make a video today, folks. A short one. Hopefully it'll be short. I expect it to be short. It's about Esther. It's about Purim. This week, Purim is, I think, Thursday and Friday this week. So it's a good time to do it. Let us understand. Recently, I guess within the last couple of weeks, maybe Marner even showed, I think, the beginning of this guy's video yesterday in her video. But we watched this video of a guy that thought he saw a pattern, or thinks or believes he sees a pattern of a pre-trib rapture in the book of Esther, in the story of Esther. So that's kind of interesting, and that really caught my attention. I said I'd never heard of that, and so I thought I'd better investigate and see if the scriptures really back that up. I do that when something new comes across my path, and somebody proclaims that the scriptures are showing this, so I try to investigate it a little bit. You know, I'm not a great scholar. I just read my Bible, I pray, I study the Bible, I pray. But you know the story of Esther. You know, she was in Persia. She was one of the captives, very possibly born in Persia. But I never see that Esther ever left Persia, or I don't think she even went to another province. But it shows that she did get called in to prepare to meet the king, and she did. For a whole year she had to prepare to meet the king, and then she went to meet the king, and the king loved her more than all the rest of them, so she became the queen of all Persia. So this story is about Queen Esther and her king, Ahasuerus, or Xerxes I. And so there they are, but I don't ever see, if you read the whole book of Esther, I don't ever see Esther going even to another province or being hidden away, locked away, escaping from the Persians or from her husband, the king of Persia. But she is, I do see a pattern of her, if she's the, representing the bride of Messiah. She marries her king, and they have a feast. And here it is in Esther 2:18. You know, she even had a feast named after her. You know, they call it Esther's feast or Esther's holiday. After they're married, you know, that's great. That's wonderful. So we maybe see the marriage supper of the Lamb in that. That's great. But folks, this marriage supper took place right there in Persia. On earth, there's no. She wasn't even out on a ship or a boat or went to an island or anything. She stayed right there in Persia. Okay, so I don't see her escaping or being taken anywhere, though she was protected by her king. But as you follow on, and you know, chapter 3, Haman's introduced, and you know, you get to chapter 4, and Esther finds out she's in trouble, and they are scrambling to find a solution, right? And wow, you know, the king orders Haman to go to Esther invited Haman, the type or archetype of the anti-Messiah. Haman and the king are invited by Esther to a feast 2 days in a row. So Esther experienced meeting the anti-Messiah. If that's the pattern that you want to see in the scriptures, that's what the scripture's showing. Esther met and knew the anti-Messiah, and she knew he was trying to kill her and her people. So she became a great intercessor for her people, and she interceded, and she saved her people from the anti-Messiah. She had to confront the anti-Messiah face to face, eyeball to eyeball, and she saw him destroyed. She pointed him out to her king. Let the king pass the judgment. The king took care of the anti-Messiah. Esther didn't go anywhere. Esther was a tribulation saint. Esther went through the situation. She didn't escape the situation. She wasn't taken away from the situation. She wasn't locked away from the situation. She had to rise up to the occasion in her faith and meet the anti-Messiah and overcome the anti-Messiah. That's the pattern I see in Esther. I don't see a pre-tribulation rapture. It's a beautiful picture of the bride and the bridegroom and the marriage supper of the Lamb. You can see that pattern there. But as far as a rapture pattern or an escape pattern, I don't see that. So my encouragement for all of us today is we need to be prepared to meet the anti-Messiah. We need to be prepared to overcome the anti-Messiah. Be prepared to be thrown into a den of lions, or be thrown into a fiery furnace, or be prepared to face an angry mob of wild, asinine, wild donkey types with butcher knives that want to come and cut your head off. Okay? That's what you're going to see coming up. We're going to go through the tribulation. We are going to be taken care of and protected by our King. Yes, our husband, Messiah, Yeshua, HaMashiach. The one, the only, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. So I believed in the rapture, the pre-trib rapture, for about 30 years. The Lord got me to look at the scriptures, and I have never found a single shred of evidence in the scriptures anywhere for a pre-trib rapture theory. There's not a shred of evidence for a pre-trib rapture theory. The scriptures do not teach that. If anything, we're going to go through the tribulation, the great tribulation even, and you may die, which is no big deal. Then you're immediately in the presence of the Lord, so that's not a big deal. But Yeshua is going to send his angels at the end, after the tribulation. He's going to send the angels out to gather us up. So there's going to be this greater exodus happening at the end, or sometime during the great tribulation, maybe closer to the end, before he comes and totally destroys all the kingdoms of the earth and arrests Hasatan, the true anti-Messiah, and throws him in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. So be encouraged about that. I mean, there's nothing to fear. We have nothing to fear. We have already overcome in the blood of Yeshua and his cross. We're winners. We're victors. I prayed this morning for the Father to crush all his enemies. It's time for him to crush his enemies and prepare the footstool for his feet. It's time to see Yeshua come back and settle the score and sit on the throne in Jerusalem. It's time for all that. So look forward to meeting your King face to face. Be prepared for the wedding feast. Turn from sin. Repent. Stop sinning. Put on the righteousness of Yeshua. And be prepared in your white righteous robes to meet the Master. But according to the biblical plan. Don't make up a plan in your head. And don't believe everything that you hear on YouTube or any other platform about any other gospel or any other theories. The scriptures show that we're going to go through it. We're all going to be tribulation saints. The saints have always been tribulation saints. The saints have always gone through their problems and overcome the enemies. But it's time for Messiah to crush his enemy finally to the end and lock him up for at least for 1,000 years, and then we'll watch him be destroyed completely at the end of the 1,000 years. So you're going to be around for a while. So be prepared for that and be encouraged. I encourage you to read the whole book of Esther, not just read it, but study it. Let us know if you see what pattern you see in the book of Esther. Let us know. All right, we'll talk to you later. Y'all have a blessed day.